Hi, my name is Palmer Heath, and I'm here with Delene Porter and Avery Warner. Today is March 16, 2010, in Barrow Media Center. Could you please say your name when you worked or attended at Barrow School?
My name is Delene Porter, and I attended Barrow Elementary in my 4th grade and 5th grade, so that was 1989 through 1990.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to be asking you a few questions. What is a typical day like at Barrow School when you were?
So when I was here, the typical day involved getting in when the bell rang, trying to be on time to school, and going to different classes. I remember really loving my art class, and I loved recess, of course. I also enjoyed, we had a spectrum class where we got to do really fun special activities. So I remember writing stories, and I remember having spelling tests, which I didn't like as much. But I definitely remember having a really good time. And then at the end of the school day, because I lived nearby, I would walk home to my house.
And at recess, what did students do for fun?
So for fun at recess, we had a field to play in. So, running around, playing tag, playing hide and go seek. We had some swings, which were always fun, but we had to take turns because there weren't enough swings for how many people there were. And I don't know, sitting under the trees and talking. It was definitely a wonderful break from the school day.
What did you enjoy most about school?
I think what I enjoyed most about school were my teachers and my friends, so the people at the school. My best friends and people who I'm still friends with today, I went to elementary school with them, and my teachers had a huge impact on me. When I came to Barrow, I really didn't like to read, and so the teachers worked really hard just to help me feel comfortable and to get the hang of reading, and so that's what I remember most.
Did you have any Barrow traditions or any of your favorite Barrow traditions?
I think my favorite Barrow tradition is the one at Christmas time where we would watch the movie, the Polar Express. That's such a wonderful one. And then they, at the end of the book, they come around and they put the jingle bell around your neck and whisper into your ears, "Always believe." And I love that tradition.
Do you have any favorite memories or stories?
Let's see. Favorite memories or stories? I think my favorite memories are from sort of the open houses that we'd have in the evenings. So maybe once or twice a year there'd be like a spring or a fall kind of open house, and there would be like a cake walk, and there'd be a cake competition. I don't know if they still do that, where you could bring in a cake, and I always loved those because I loved seeing what different cakes people would make and bring from their homes. And I remember there was one person who brought in a cake that was a volcano, and so it was like they had built the cake into a volcano, and then they had put something in the center of it that made stuff bubble over. So I'm not really sure if you'd want to eat the cake afterwards, but it looked really cool.
That's cool. Now Avery's gonna ask you some questions.
Okay. These aren't personal questions, but if you ever feel the need to want us to stop recording, we can do so. Okay. So the first one, what historical events happened when you were at Barrow, if any?
Let's see. While I was at Barrow, it was the transition into, I guess, a new decade. It went from the 1980s into the 1990s. and the school was very diverse, and I don't think any major changes happened while I was here, but I do remember that it was a wonderful sort of mix of students from all sort of races and ethnicities and income levels, and we all sort of were able to relate to each other because this was our home school.
That's very interesting. How has your time at Barrow influenced you in your life now?
I think my time at Barrow influenced my life incredibly. As I said before, I had trouble reading when I got to Barrow, and I was a good communicator verbally, but I had some trouble with reading that most people didn't realize because I spoke clearly and I could engage with others, and so they would never really know. But when I got to Barrow, I had really sensitive, kind teachers who would pay close attention, and they really started to notice that I wasn't taking a lot of time as I was doing my reading assignments. And so they pretty quickly diagnosed me with a mild form of dyslexia, which means you switch letters and you have a little bit of trouble. And so they took a whole lot of time helping me feel okay about that, helping me work around those issues. And so I really credit Barrow with helping me love school, helping me not feel intimidated by books. And now I read all the time, which is definitely something I didn't do when I first got to Barrow.
So Barrow influenced you to read more and to love reading? Mm-hmm. That's very cool. This is a question that, since you're more recent at Barrow, I want to ask, did they have patrols there?
Yes, they did. We had patrols, and I was actually one of the patrols, and so I'm not sure if they still have the orange belts that the patrols wore.
Some orange and yellow.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And the yellow ones have safety patrol written on.
Okay, cool. So I had like the old orange ones, and I think that worked pretty well. They had us sort of out where the cars would do pickup and out near the buses. And I think we did some patrolling in the mornings to just sort of encourage people not to run and not to be too noisy. But honestly, the school kids seemed to be happy to be here to learn, so there wasn't usually that much trouble.
We have patrol and we work different places.
Yeah.
And you said that you were patrol, correct?
Yes.
And was there a couple or favorite jobs of yours?
I think I liked pickup at the end of the school day. It was fun to see, kids were happy to be done with their classes, and parents were really happy to pick them up, or sometimes they'd have, babysitters, or they'd be going home with friends, and it was always enjoyable to see what people were up to. Do they still have the stoplight in the cafeteria?
What stoplight?
Okay, so there was this huge traffic light in the cafeteria, and it would go from green to yellow to red. And when everybody was being fairly quiet and calm, it would stay at green. But if we started to get a little bit too noisy, the light would switch to yellow, and we were sort of on warning, and we needed to keep it down. And then if we'd gotten way too noisy, the light would switch to red, and that meant that everybody had to be really silent. So we all tried not to go to red.
When we are all in the cafeteria on when we're just really noisy, they turn off the lights and we all have to be quiet.
Was this an electric thingy or?
It was like the ones at the traffic stop. I don't know where they got the traffic light, but it was a real, traffic light that they'd hung from the ceiling in the cafeteria.
I wish they could have that here.
I know. Maybe they can get it back again.
That would be a nice idea. Have you seen part of Barrow now? Okay. Could you describe a little about what the school was when you were there and how
It was different.
possibly was?
Yeah. So Barrow has gotten a lot bigger since when I was here. The new gymnasium wasn't there, and Barrow was still had that original shape of being like a spokes coming off of a wheel. So there were different hallways, and different age classes were on different hallways. And we also had, at the time, we had trailers that were out on the grounds where like music class was in the trailers. So they were, by the time I was here, they already didn't have enough space and they needed more room. So they had temporary trailers set up, which was always fun to run from inside to outside. But it was smaller when I was here.
And do you want to ask a couple more questions because we have time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Palmer will ask you a couple more questions and then
Like, what was your first day like at Barrow?
Well, my first day, I think I was really nervous because I came in the 4th grade, so it wasn't like I had been here the whole time. So I was definitely a new kid, and all the other kids who'd been here knew each other and had been at school for a long time. But I also knew that I was really excited. I knew that I was coming to a school that was nearby my house that I could walk to, and I think I remember, spending a lot of time worrying about what I was going to wear that first day of school, but pretty quickly I got more excited about meeting people and my teachers.
same with me. I came in 4th grade. So were there any special activities or special classes that you took for, like, well, we now have specials, so we have 3, we have PE, art, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
And music, and we switch, alternating with the classes. Did you have something like that or similar?
We definitely had similar sort of, we had the traditional basic academic classes, so the math and the reading and science, but we also had, I remember really liking music class, learning different songs from different cultures. So I remember that we learned Sakura, which is a Japanese song, and we had school plays, which we were always, rehearsing for and getting prepared for. I also really remember loving my art class, loving especially when we could do work with clay, which is always fun.
That's same here.
Exactly. So we did have specials, but they were definitely integrated into the school day.
That's another question.
Did y'all ever have like field day or spring fling or anything like that?
Yes, we did have field day, and I think maybe in my memory I'm mixing field day in with other things. Like I remember, water balloons and like t-shirts and everybody, riding on each other's t-shirts. So I'm guessing those are like field day memories. I don't know if this is one of your questions, but I think what I really like about having grown up in Athens and then staying in Athens is that now I see people who used to be my teachers out in the community, and I get to interact with them, and they, remember me when I was a student. And one of the people that I run into quite a bit is Mr. Sims. And I'm not sure if you guys are going to get to interview him at all, but Mr. Sims is now a commissioner, so he's on the Athens-Clarke County Commission. He's elected, and he was my science teacher when I was here at Barrow. So it's fun to see him out because he remembers me when I was a student, and I remember him when he was a science teacher, and now he's an elected official, and I run an organization in town that gets to interact with him. So it's cool to come full circle.
And what was your last day like at Barrow? Like, did you have any talent shows or?
We did. I do remember there being a talent show. I also remember, like, some of the students weren't going to end up at the same middle school. Like, they lived in different parts of town, so it was really sad to say goodbye to friends and not knowing if you'd really get to hang out with them or see them as much. But luckily, because we were sort of on neighborhood school system, most of my friends all went from Barrow to Clarke Middle School. So I think the last day was sad, but at the same time, it was exciting to know that we were about to go on the next adventure.
That's fun. Avery, do you have any more questions?
I have a couple more. One's on the list, but the other's not. Who was the principal when you were there?
I know, I'm trying to think. There was a changeover, so the principal that I remember the most was Mrs. Wright. And I'm not sure if she was the assistant principal at the time or if she was the full principal at the time. But I remember really liking her.
Actually, there's two more. Was there like one moment that really stood out from all the others in Barrow that really makes you remember it?
For me, I think the moment that stood out was I wrote a story about a rainforest and a particular tree in the rainforest, and so the kind of community of animals that lived in that tree. And I got an award for having written it, which made me feel really proud, but it was also one of those defining moments where here's a kid who came in who didn't really like to read too much and didn't really like to write all that much, and then, you know, after a year at Barrow, I was winning an award for an essay that I'd written. So I think that stands out to me the most.
That's good.
That really shows change in you, which really shows that Barrow helped you.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you would like to share with me about Barrow that would help us?
Well, let's see. So this project is kind of about the history of Barrow and its role in obviously educating students, but also its role as a member of the community, sort of a community institution. And I think for your project, I think what's exciting about your project is you're going to get the whole picture. So it's not just that certain individuals came through the school and did well and you've been able to find them and do an interview with them, but sort of this school's commitment to the community that surrounds it and its ability to act as a community center and its ability to engage parents of kids. And I think what's been amazing about Barrow's history is that it's really done a good job in kind of engaging the whole family so that it's not just a place you send your kid, but it's really a place that you get involved and you give back to your community.
Is that it?
I think that is.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. This will really, really help what we did. Is there anything else?
I don't think.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.